pyramid structure spread around the world, even underwater. These pyramids are symbols of the nation before the biblical flood of the Bible, God's Hebrew. In the 8th edition of his book, In the Beginning, Compelling Evidence for Creation and the Flood, Brown presents his hydroplate theory, which unfolds scientific evidence that the Earth's present geologic features and fossils were formed around 5,000 years ago, not untold millions or billions of years ago. He asserts that the global flood recorded in Genesis 7 is the mechanism that created the geologic, astronomical and biological phenomena witnessed today. A major motivation that has propelled Brown's decades of research has been his quest to give Christian students answers that will withstand scrutiny when challenged by Darwinist theories within the classroom. He notes that he does not rely on faith, miracles or sped-up evolutionary processes to buttress his theory. Only observable and calculable data. More water. According to Brown, the Earth was an extremely different place before Noah's flood. Oceans were much shallower and mountains much lower. He notes that it is no coincidence that more than 230 flood legends, with many common elements such as soul-surviving family in a boat, exist from every corner of the Earth. In fact, the flood of Noah is the very device that sets Brown's hydroplate theory in motion. Pangaea, where the original Hebrew nation lived as one. We can see on our planet 17 very strange features, which can now be systematically explained as a result of a cataclysmic global flood whose water erupted from subterranean chambers, with an energy release exceeding the explosion of 10 billion hydrogen bombs. This expiation shows us just how rapidly major mountains formed. It explains the coal and oil deposits, the rapid continental drift, why on the ocean floor there are huge trenches and hundreds of canyons and volcanoes. It explains the formation of the Layers Strait and most of the fossils of the frozen mammoths, the so-called ice ages and major land canyons, especially the Grand Canyon. The pre-flood Earth probably had only one very large supercontinent covered with lush vegetation. There were seas and major rivers. The mountains were smaller than today's, but perhaps 9,000 feet high. According to the hydroplate theory, the pre-flood Earth had a lot of subterranean water, about half of what is now in our oceans. This water was contained in interconnected chambers forming a thin spherical shell about half a mile thick, perhaps 10 miles below the Earth's surface. Increasing pressure in the subterranean water stretched the crust, just as the balloon stretches when the pressure inside increases. Failure in the crust began with a microscopic crack which grew in both directions at about 3 miles per second. The crack, following the path of least resistance, encircled the globe in about 2 hours. As the crack raced around the Earth, the overlaying rock crust opened up like a rip in a tightly stretched cloth. The subterranean water was under extreme pressure because the weight of the 10 miles of rock pressing down on it. The original Hebrew nations of Pangaea. We were the true Hebrew nations, and white society are trying to convince the world that they are the nations. Wrong. You are the wicked that God speaks against.